I just think this bed is like way too high. So this is no fancy room to record anything. I mean, in my mind, I have 2 plants and like a stack of books in the background, but we're not gonna pick it. I'm just gonna keep it simple. There's a black screen in my background. It's a freaking TV. That's not because I still can't get into the channels. The clarity is. Anyway, I promised that I'll be talking about my journey from California into Uganda in COVID times. So I made the decision, obviously, to come back home. It wasn't actually a hard decision. Much as I had organized over it, you know, because it felt like I had to answer to so many people. But girl, you never have to answer to anybody but yourself. And I had a few sleepless nights and blah 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 blah. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. We're not going to talk about my decision to leave the US to come back to Uganda today. We're going to talk about traveling from one continent to another during COVID, and specifically to Uganda, which has had one of the strictest COVID measures, I think, of a lot of countries, quite honestly, because the national airport, which is I think the only airport apart from the airstrip, the 2 airstrips we have, the ones that I know, I think it's been like very strict on movement and people in general. There's curfews and the like. Compared to other countries, I think that kind of have the infrastructure for like healthcare systems, and I mean even the neighbors. Think about East Africa in general. Tanzania barely had any measures. Kenya kept its airports open and its ports open, but Uganda, I mean, being a landlocked country, honestly, I think it was crucial that there is some kind of protection, because there's everybody coming in on all corners of the country, and it was important to protect them. So I'm not defending anything, I'm just saying in general it's been stricter to move around, to move into Uganda as a country. So on my decision to come back, I had to figure out ways that people are returning, because obviously a country can close, but it can't close out its citizens or people who depend say on it for like livelihoods, like workers and the like, who are permitted to generally come in. So long story short, the government provided some sort of repatriation flight arrangements, which were very hard to come by, FYI. For some reason, it took me getting a late notice for a flight that I could have gotten on, maybe not, because I wasn't ready mentally to do that, to figure out ways of actually getting onto the next flight. I found somebody sent me this notice when I was just, playing with the idea of moving back home. It's like, yeah, there's flights, and literally the announcement was sent in 3 days before the flight, and I was like, how many people knew about this, and where did they get that information? And then I realized, oh hell, usually you ask your embassy about these things. So I went on a hunt for information, and I discovered the embassy, the Ugandan embassy in DC had some information on COVID and like repatriating citizens and blah blah blah. So I filled in an interest form, started communicating with the guy who does the travel arrangements, and like thinking about costs and figuring out what time I'll be moving. At this point, I am actually living with my host family, and there's so many questions surrounding next steps and what I wanted to do next. Also, I'm not naked. I'm wearing this over the shoulder thing that I absolutely love. It's super comfortable. So anyways, that happened, and I was asked to fill in the form again, and after that I had to pay for the fee, which is honestly I think close to 2.5 times more. Is it? No, just twice as much as you would usually normally pay. Because like if you need a flight from DC into Entebbe, it's close to like 500. Maybe not, because I found flights that flew from San Francisco into Uganda for about 800. But obviously, I think those are just like false flights for just in case, you know, the country opens up. But there were no flights allowed unless there were repatriation flights to Uganda and were allowed by the government. So essentially, I ended up having to pay $1,500 for a one-way ticket, and I had to get a COVID test 10 days before my flight. And I don't know, that they didn't even ask me for the test. I don't know why I had to take it. That shit kind of hurt. But I had to do that, and my obviously packing up 4 years of your life is kind of a very, very stressful, emotional thing to do. I had to pack, I tried packing my stuff into 2 loud 23 kg bags, and for the life of me I couldn't. So I ended up with 3 bags, and one of them 32 kilograms, which is about like 70 pounds more than was allowed. So I had to pay for that. And surprise, surprise, this flight could only leave from DC, and your girl was living near San Francisco. So I had to buy another flight. And if anybody knows this, domestic flights within the US are crazy expensive, one, but also two, you usually have to pay for the bags that you carry. So I had to pay for that and my 3 fucking heavy bags sorry for the swearing, into DC, and then kind of sleep over in DC and then come to Uganda. Not as straightforward as that sounds. I literally flew a day before into DC. Kind of took about, I think, like 8 hours. Not really, because I flew into Atlanta. I left at like 1 p.m. I got to Atlanta at like, I think 8 p.m. So that's like, oh my god, I can't count. Like 4 or 5 hours. Yeah, 4 hours for flying, and then I flew from Atlanta into DC for like 2 hours. So it's about 6 hours of flying. Luckily, Delta is good with, I think Delta is good with luggage and stuff. So luckily my bags were there, and then a friend of mine came and helped to carry these bags into the hotel, where I ended up pre-packing, because guess what, my baggage allowance was different. I had to leave a lot of my favorite books in DC with my friend to be sent to me at some point, or I don't know when I have to be back in the US, in general in Europe or something, I don't know. So I left my books and then I flew in the morning. Gosh, you guys should have seen the amount of people who were at the airport trying to get onto this flight. Yo, I feel like every single passenger had at least 3 bags. 3 heavy ass bags. And I do not want to say this, but I hate Ethiopian Airlines or Airways, I don't know, whatever. I don't like them. I don't like their organization. It's literally so hard to move through their stuff, because I had to breathe so much that day just to hold my peace, just for this flight. Genuinely, there were too many people. It felt like they weren't ready for as many people as they were receiving, and I mean, I guess it's unprecedented. So it felt like there were too many people, but maybe because of the circumstances it didn't take too many people. And I mean, it's a COVID kind of, it's not a COVID flight, but like taking people in COVID time, but you have all these passengers. It was a huge aircraft, granted, but you know, the one seat in between passengers is not really that different. If every row, kind of every other row has like a full set of like kids and stuff, it doesn't make any sense. But hopefully none of them had the virus and I am safe. On that note, today my 2 doctors who had been checking on me the past 2 days did come. As a lady who just came and straightforwardly just took my temperature and left, which is amazing. No talk, nothing, no asking for my number or joking or anything or flirting. So that happened. Again, back to the flight thing. So I had thought that we were just going to spend 2 hours in Ethiopia, like, because the flight had to land in Addis Ababa before we continued to Uganda. Surprise, surprise. I think we had 6 extra hours. Yeah, because we arrived at 8 and we started boarding again at like 2:30. And gosh, it sucks when that happens. I mean, I think that's the most frustrating part about traveling anywhere, is when the flights get changed or the program is changed on you without. There was no even an apology. Man, I'm mad at Ethiopian Airways. I'm just mad. By the time I get to Uganda, it's about 5, and this is one of the things that I think made me smile despite being exhausted from like the flying. It felt like I'd been flying for like an entire week, quite honestly. Right away when we alighted, I have no idea. When we went off the plane, there were people who looked like they were fumigating us, essentially. Well, they weren't really fumigating us. They just fumigated our hands and our bags that we were carrying, and then we just went through into getting our bags. At the airport, you are not allowed to meet with any of your family, again because of COVID. They don't want anybody to contract it. So for 14 days you can't see your family, you can't see anybody apart from like airport officials and hotel people who are going to handle your stuff, or if you're any other person who wasn't able maybe to pay for a facility or like a hotel for yourself, then you're going to go into a government facility, which is, I mean, fair enough, because that 1,500 is just going to hang over my head for a while, because that's fucking expensive. Anyway, what happened next? I had to wait for a bus that was provided for by the Ministry of Health, and these guys took close to 3 hours before they left the airport. So everybody else was going on to like a common maybe hotel or like the facilities within like the government facilities kind of got to board fast because it was a known destination and there was enough people to like get. But it just felt weird that they were writing down people's names as they came through with their bags. Also, baggage claim was a hellhole because you can't have like over 300 people, I think. 300 people trying to get 3 bags each from that relay thing. Yeah, the belt thing where you get your bags. And some people had very common bags, so they kept getting bags. Pro tip, if you're a traveler, like if you do travel, please get bags that you think are unique to you. I try to personalize my bags as much as possible because it's easier to like get them off the belt and you don't have to keep looking and keep lifting bags. It's exhausting. I don't think that's a necessary workout when you've been traveling for a long time, especially. So that's a tip. I do tend, it doesn't matter, I feel honestly like the color of your backpacks or bags in general only matter when you're going to remove them from the belt thing. Again, baggage claim. It only matters at that time because it helps you get them, and that's the most important thing. You want a bag that holds its own, it's strong enough and it's unique enough that you get it once you know it comes, so you don't miss it but you also don't keep lifting other people's bags. Okay, anyway, so that was a sidebar. I end up getting onto this bus after waiting for 3 hours and agonizing over the whole thing. We get on and your girl literally slept off because there were like 4 other stops and I thought mine would be the last one since I was basically the only one going to this hotel that I'm in. But this guy was kind enough. I think he saw my frustration and he dropped me off fast to this hotel that I'm living in. I can't tell you which hotel it is because I don't want to be found here. So I think by the time this goes up, I would have left already. This is day 3 and I've just noticed that uploading videos takes a lot longer than I realized. So yeah, anyway, I get to the airport and I get to the hotel, and there is this young man who comes to help me from the reception to get the bags, blah blah blah. And obviously they keep grunting about how my bags are heavy and I call out the help. But in my head I'm just sleepy, I'm a sleepy pin, so whatever they say is not fazing me at all. I just wanted to sleep, so that's what I do. I just got in and I went in the shower and I wore my mask and I rolled into bed because I was burnt out. I was done. My mom tried to call me the entire time. I just didn't even have energy to talk to my mom. That's how exhausted I was. And then yeah, that's kind of how my journey was. Thank you for hanging out with me while I talk through this. And today I didn't do anything really special. I woke up early and I am learning Swahili through Duolingo. Again, Duolingo, please sponsor this video. I have no idea how to ask for sponsorships. But I've been trying to learn Swahili as a commitment to being closer to home. I feel like it's important to learn the language that is an East African language in general, but often neglected by educational systems and whatnot. Anywho, I did that for what felt like an hour and a half, I think, before having breakfast, and I got on to with my other assignments that I've given myself for this time that I'm going to be quarantined. So yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. If you haven't, please subscribe and I invite your friends and share my video. I'll be letting you guys know how the rest of the days go. I may not do an everyday thing, but I'm gonna try as much as possible to provide you information if you're trying to get into Uganda at any one point. Hopefully this video is helpful to kind of give you an idea of what is likely to happen on your journey. But other than that, I will be talking about other normal stuff. I'll let you know what I talk about next. But thank you for hanging out with me.